The story of the Walther MPK begins in the fragmented industrial landscape of post-World War II West Germany, a period defined by rapid rearmament and the desperate need to modernize police and military forces that had been stripped of their previous capabilities. In the late 1950s, the Karl Walther firm, having relocated its operations to Ulm after the destruction and Soviet occupation of its original Zella Malis factory, sought to re-enter the lucrative military small arms market. The result of this ambition was a pair of submachine guns designed to capture the third-generation market. Weapons characterized by stamped sheet metal construction, cost-effective mass production, and reliable open-bolt operation. This family of weapons included the Maschinenpistole Lang, MPL, and its compact sibling, the Maschinenpistole Kurz, MPK. While the MPL featured a longer barrel intended for standard infantry or police use, the MPK was explicitly designed as a specialized tool for close-quarters combat, vehicle crews, and covert operations where concealment and maneuverability were paramount. The MPK and MPL were introduced into full-scale production in 1963, a pivotal year that placed them in direct competition with two of the most legendary submachine guns of the 20th century, the Israeli Uzi and the emerging Heckler & Koch MP5. In this crowded marketplace, the Walther design represented a bridge between the crude, desperate manufacturing techniques of late World War II weapons, like the British Sten or German MP40, and the refined, precision-engineered systems that would follow. The MPK was constructed primarily from stamped sheet steel, a method that allowed for rapid fabrication and reduced weight without sacrificing structural integrity. The receiver was reinforced with longitudinal ridges stamped directly into the metal, a technique that increased the rigidity of the thin steel while simultaneously reducing the surface area of the interior, thereby minimizing friction between the bolt and the receiver walls. 6 pounds. The distinction between the two models was defined almost entirely by the barrel length and the corresponding forward handguard area. 25-inch barrel, maximizing the ballistic potential of the 9x19mm Parabellum cartridge, and providing a longer sight radius for engagement at distances up to 200 meters. 75-inch barrel. This reduction in length was not arbitrary. It was carefully calculated to ensure that when the stock was folded, the barrel did not protrude beyond the hinge mechanism or the receiver's envelope, maintaining the weapon's compact profile. The total length of the MPK was dictated largely by the length of the folding stock itself, making it as short as mechanically possible while still retaining a functional shoulder support. This focus on compactness made the MPK an attractive option for the West German Navy, various police agencies, and intelligence units who required a weapon that could be easily stowed in a vehicle or carried under a coat. At the heart of the MPK's operation is a simple yet robust blowback system firing from an open bolt. This mechanism was the standard for submachine guns of the era due to its reliability and simplicity. In this system, the bolt remains locked to the rear when the weapon is ready to fire. When the trigger is pulled, the massive bolt flies forward under spring tension, stripping a round from the magazine, chambering it, and firing it in a single fluid motion. Walther's implementation of this system, however, included several sophisticated refinements that elevated it above a simple tube gun. The bolt itself utilized an L-shaped design, similar to that found in the Czech Viztion 23 series, or the Uzi, where a significant portion of the bolt's mass is located forward of the bolt face, telescoping over the barrel. This configuration allowed Walther to maintain the necessary bolt mass for safe blowback operation while shortening the overall length of the receiver, as the weight did not need to be stacked entirely behind the chamber. Furthermore, the bolt was a forged component with only specific contact surfaces finish machined. The recessed, rough-forged areas provided ample clearance for dirt, carbon, and debris to accumulate without causing stoppages, a feature that significantly enhanced reliability in adverse field conditions. The safety features of the MPK were particularly well engineered, addressing the primary danger inherent in open-bolt submachine guns: accidental discharge due to dropping. In many rudimentary open-bolt designs, a sharp impact to the buttstock could cause the heavy bolt to slide backward just enough to pick up a round from the magazine, but not enough to catch the sear. The bolt would then slam forward, chambering and firing the round unintentionally. Walther solved this problem by integrating a secondary safety sear catch. If the bolt were jarred loose or slipped from the operator's hand during cocking, This auxiliary catch would intercept the bolt before it could travel far enough to strip a cartridge from the magazine. This drop safety feature ensured that the weapon remained safe, even if mishandled, a critical requirement for a firearm intended for police service. Ergonomically, the MPK was designed with a focus on usability and ambidextrous operation. The charging handle was located on the forward left side of the receiver, but was angled upward at 45 degrees, making it easily accessible for operation with either hand. Unlike many of its contemporaries, the charging handle was non-reciprocating, meaning it did not fly back and forth with the bolt during firing, eliminating a potential distraction or hazard for the shooter's support hand. However, Walther included a clever manual override. By pressing the charging handle inward, the operator could engage the bolt directly, allowing the handle to function as a forward assist to force the bolt into battery if the weapon became fouled. The fire selector switch was located on the left side of the grip frame, easily manipulated by the thumb of a right-handed shooter. The controls were marked with letters indicating their function. S for sicher, safe, D for Dauerfeuer, continuous fire, full auto, and E for Einzelfeuer, single fire, semi-auto. The inclusion of a semi-automatic mode, while standard on closed-bolt rifles, was a notable feature for an open-bolt submachine gun, giving the operator the option for precision fire, although the mechanical movement of the heavy bolt made single-shot accuracy more challenging than on a closed-bolt weapon like the MP5. The feeding mechanism of the MPK was built around a 32-round detachable box magazine, a double-stack, double-feed design that drew heavy inspiration from the highly regarded Swedish Carl Gustaf M45 submachine gun. The magazine well was integrated into the lower receiver stamping, providing a sturdy housing that facilitated rapid reloads. The magazine release was a simple paddle lever located behind the magazine well, intuitive to operate and shielded from accidental activation. While the MPK could theoretically accept modified magazines from other systems due to the generic nature of the double-column feed lips, reliability was best achieved with the dedicated Walther magazines, which featured specific cutouts for the catch and follower geometry optimized for the MPK's feed ramp. The rate of fire was tuned to approximately 550 rounds per minute, a sedate cadence compared to the buzzsaw speed of the Micro Uzi or the Mac-10. This moderate rate of fire was a deliberate design choice, allowing the operator to easily control the weapon during full automatic bursts and even pull single shots with disciplined trigger control, without the need for a complex mechanical burst limiter. One of the most distinctive features of the MPK was its side-folding stock. Unlike the heavy wooden stocks of the previous generation, or the complex telescoping mechanisms of the MP5, the Walther stock was a skeletonized triangular loop made of tubular steel. It folded to the right side of the receiver, and the hinge mechanism was designed with a simple, robust spring-loaded button that locked the stock in both the open and closed positions. Recognizing the discomfort of placing a cheek against bare steel in freezing cold or scorching heat, Walther coated the top tube of the stock in a durable hard plastic or rubberized cladding. This seemingly minor detail significantly improved the shooter's comfort. Crucially, the stock was designed to clear the ejection port when folded, allowing the weapon to be fired with the stock collapsed, a vital capability for vehicle-borne troops or security detail work, where immediate reaction time was more important than precise aim. However, despite these many positive attributes, the MPK was not without its flaws, the most significant of which lay in its sighting system. Walther equipped the MPK with a somewhat confusing dual-sight arrangement. The rear sight block featured both a wide-open notch and a small peep aperture. The notch was intended for close-range, rapid target acquisition and was ostensibly zeroed for 75 meters. To use this notch effectively, the shooter was supposed to align it with a large, trapezoidal French-style front sight block. Conversely, the peep aperture was intended for precision fire at longer ranges, up to 150 meters, and corresponded to a finer post within the front sight assembly. In practice, this system was often criticized as being over-engineered and under-effective. The rear aperture was too small for quick use in low light, and the open notch was too coarse for accuracy. Furthermore, the sight sat relatively low on the receiver, which, combined with the stock geometry, created an optical illusion of a long length of pull. Shooters often felt they had to crawl their necks forward to get a proper sight picture, making the compact gun feel awkwardly long and unwieldy when shouldered, despite the physical measurements being shorter than those of the Uzi. Disassembly of the MPK for cleaning and maintenance was a testament to the weapon's field-oriented design. The entire weapon could be field-stripped without tools in a matter of seconds. The upper and lower receiver groups were held together by a single captive cross pin, located forward of the trigger guard. By pushing a locking spring and sliding the pin out, the operator could hinge the gun open or separate the halves entirely. The bolt assembly, recoil spring, and guide rod could then be slid out the rear of the upper receiver. The barrel was held in place by a threaded barrel nut, secured by a spring-loaded detent to prevent it from vibrating loose during automatic fire. Unscrewing this nut allowed the barrel to be removed from the front of the receiver, revealing the simple trunnion block that served as the interface between the barrel and the sheet metal shell. This level of modularity meant that a damaged barrel could be swapped out easily, or an armorer could exchange an MPK upper for an MPL upper on the same lower receiver, as the trigger groups were identical. Despite its innovative features, robust construction, and high production quality, the Walther MPK never achieved the dominance of the Heckler & Koch MP5. The primary reason for this was the fundamental difference in operating principles. The MP5 utilized a roller-delayed blowback system firing from a closed bolt. This meant that when the trigger was pulled on an MP5, only a lightweight firing pin moved, resulting in exceptional accuracy that simply could not be matched by the heavy, lurching mass of the MPK's open bolt. For counterterrorism units like GSG-9 and the SAS, who prioritize surgical precision over simple suppression, the closed-bolt MP5 was the undisputed superior choice. The MPK was relegated to a secondary tier, finding success with naval boarding parties, police patrols, and export customers in South America and Portugal, who valued its ruggedness and lower cost over match-grade accuracy. Ultimately, the Walther MPK stands as a fascinating artifact of Cold War arms design. A highly competent, well-made, and reliable submachine gun that was simply outclassed by a revolutionary competitor. It represents the pinnacle of the stamped steel, open-bolt era, pushing that technology as far as it could go with features like the forward assist, the drop safety, and the clever bolt geometry. While it may have been overshadowed by the MP5 in the history books, the MPK remains a feature-rich design that offered a compelling mix of firepower and portability. Its legacy is that of a dependable workhorse, a weapon that did everything asked of it with mechanical stoicism, even if it never quite earned the title of top dog in the fierce market of 20th-century submachine guns.